Hey everyone, Gill Gross here. Post-match, Jannik Sinner versus Holger Rune, Australian Open 2025, fourth round. If you're not here for spoilers, click off the video. Sinner takes this in 4 sets. This has been a great head-to-head. They've played a lot of awesome matches. Unfortunately, this was not one of them. This was a rather bad match. It was dramatic. At times it was gripping. Sometimes you couldn't look away. But tennis quality, not really there. Was it a great showing from either one? No, it wasn't, for different reasons. And I was concerned coming in, given that Holger Rune had played a 5-setter in his first round, a really kind of intense 4-setter in his second round, and then another 5-setter where he was cramping at the end of it in his third round. So I was definitely concerned. I was thinking, okay, I don't really think Holger might have a gas tank problem in this one. Little did I know, Jannik Sinner would have his own energy problems in this match for a separate reason. Obviously not the inefficiency coming in, but Sinner had a lot of problems himself. So you have two guys, they weren't at their best, and it became obviously a matter of, okay, it's tennis. Somebody has to win. You don't get brownie points for playing your highest level. You get brownie points for advancing past whoever is across the net from you. And there are some takeaways there as far as why Sinner got through. So we can get into it. I want to go through the match chronologically. First set, Rune's first service game, made 3 unforced errors, got broken at love. Rest of the set, didn't make a lot of returns, which was a little odd to see because he did such a great job of making Matteo Berrettini work in his service games. But Sinner's serve was rather dominant. No break points faced. Second set, this is where the match did become quite gripping because Jannik went off. And for a while, I think Sinner was doing a good job of putting on a brave face, trying not to show much, but something was wrong. For a time, it was hard to tell what was wrong. But you knew that Sinner wasn't moving that badly, grimacing that often, and overall just playing that poorly for no reason. But you didn't know if he was going to recover. And I wrote in my notes after the second set that it was one of the worst I've seen Jannik play in a very long time. Third set, Sinner starts with 2 tough holds where, Holger almost got the break. And point of the tournament for Sinner to save one of those break points at 1-2, where, first of all, Jannik dug really deep, played into big targets that entire point, and then Holger ended up bringing Jannik forward and then lobbing him. Sinner responded to the lob with an emergency lob of his own that landed real deep on the baseline. And then it would end up being Jannik hitting the really gorgeous forehand drop shot, cut inside out with some angle, and then sort of moving on up the court and taking Holger Rune's reply out of the air with a swing volley into the open court. Literally one of the points of the tournament, might end up being the point of the tournament to save break point. And then we finally get a Sinner medical timeout. And you were wondering when that was going to come. It was almost strange that it hadn't earlier. But you get that medical timeout. It was a long one. The way that works, because there's always a lot of confusion about this, there is a medical evaluation. And the clock doesn't start until that evaluation is over. So they had a conversation. They went off court. And then, eventually Jannik got the 3-minute treatment, which is the time allotted for the medical timeout. Ended up being a nice break, though, for Sinner. And he did come out looking a little bit stronger. But then immediately, like a couple games later, Holger plays a diabolical service game. I don't know how much detail I may or may not get into, but he lost his head there and gets broken, and then he calls for the physio for his knee. I believe it was his right knee. So suddenly Sinner takes the third set. Now Holger's got a problem physically. And then start of the fourth set, Sinner hits a serve. It hits the strap in the middle of the net and breaks the net. So now you get another 30-minute delay. And my hope was, at that time, that it would be a total reset and that we might start to see, okay, Sinner's got his energy. Maybe, if Holger's knee was sore, maybe they shore that up somehow with anti-inflammatories or massage or whatever, and we can get some better, a good quality of tennis. Rune at 1-all goes up 30-love and misses a +1 ball on a forehand cross court where he had Jannik going the other way. So he had Jannik running into the ad side, and Rune hit the forehand into the do side. If it was 50 miles per hour, it would have been a winner, but he tried to hit it 95 miles per hour, and it went long. And then at 30-15, Rune's trying to trade his forehand, misses wide. He wasn't even trying to attack, and he missed wide. I never loved that. It normally means the target is sort of unnecessarily ambitious. At 30-all, Holger tries to lace a backhand down the line from a low contact, just an uncomfortable contact point, not a ball that you can really take down the line at a high percentage. So that was another bad decision and an unforced error. And then on break point, Sinner did earn the break point fully with some a really excellent sliding open stance backhand that landed very deep in the court and sort of generated a short ball. And then he stepped in and finished the next forehand. So, kind of classic defense to offense in one swing of the racket by Sinner. That was a really good play by him. And then again, it just didn't feel like Rune's returning was all that competitive against Sinner's first serve. And you just never felt that Jannik had to work very hard to hold. And then I think he got an insurance break a little bit later on as well to win. He did, to win the fourth set 6-2. So that was a match. Sinner also didn't face a break point after the medical timeout. And credit to Jannik's serve, because in a match where he really had to keep the work rate down because he wasn't feeling well, the serve definitely helped him do that. But all in all, I only have a few takeaways when it comes to this match, because talking about tactics here or anything that has to do with technical stuff, total waste of time, right? These are two players struggling. These are two players not feeling their best for different reasons. Again, for Holger, maybe there's something acute with the knee, but I really think there is just too much mileage on the legs coming into this match. And then for Sinner, he said after the match, he just woke up feeling horrible. Similar to the Medvedev quarterfinal at Wimbledon, you would guess, where he was dizzy and nauseous and weak and et cetera, right? Everything you don't want to feel when you wake up in the morning. He didn't even warm up. He didn't hit a tennis ball until he took the court. So that's how bad it was. So it wasn't a heat thing. It wasn't a sudden loss of energy. Jannik woke up feeling badly. So he knew that this was going to be a challenge coming in. So again, this kind of match, this becomes a lot about toughness. And don't get me wrong, Sinner did not play well, because it's impossible to play well when you're not feeling physically strong. So I'm not going to say Sinner played well, but what I am going to say is Jannik tried to play smart and make Rune earn everything at all times. He never, he was trying to extract the most out of himself at all times. And he really, even when it did get a little bit sloppy in the second set, you didn't feel like it was decision-making or a lack of effort that was causing the sloppiness. And, he was even trying to, it looked like, play a little bit of poker. He didn't even want Holger, I don't think, to know that he wasn't feeling well. And, one thing he said after the match, which was interesting, is he knew Rune's situation. He knew that Holger had played a ton of tennis coming in. So he felt like he had a good chance to sort of hang in there and extend the match, and it might turn into a battle, and he might get a diminished opponent on the other side of the net. he came in with that hope, and I think that motivated him and it focused him. But this is also something that Sinner has worked on, and it's something that Darren Cahill, when they started their partnership, Darren really wanted Jannik to get better at fighting through physical adversity and dealing with it when you're not feeling well. So that was this sort of coming to fruition. Whereas Rune, when stuff started to go downhill with him physically, it looked very different. Like, to me, he lost his head and he self-destructed. So if we look at this 3-4 game, there are 2 double faults here going for huge second serves. There are all of these forehand unforced errors where he's off balance just trying to destroy the tennis ball. There are a ton of drop shots and short slices, like wanting Jannik to come to the net all the time, but not because there's an opening to hit a drop shot, or not because there's a chance to hit a good low biting slice, just because he's looking for the point to be over right away. And then some of the margins of the misses stood out here at 3-4. They were uncompetitive misses. You could have made the net half as tall, and you could have extended the baseline and the sidelines by 3 feet, and Rune still would have made 4 unforced errors. And that's what was, to me, disappointing in this 3-4 game. Now, I understand Holger's knee hurt or something was wrong and he wasn't moving well. I just think you can do what Sinner did in this match and try to tough it out to the point where you're not handing it over on a platter and you're just finding a way to be as competitive as possible. I don't really think Holger did that. So, in the toughness category, I just think Jannik was a little bit better. And then ultimately, at the end of the, when I'm looking back on this match, it's a missed opportunity for Rune because he had a 70% Sinner here. And it's multifaceted. Beyond the toughness thing, you have also the efficiency. And Rune got a tough draw. Zhang Zhizhen, first round, tough. Berrettini, second round, pretty brutal. Kecmanovic at the Australian Open, it's his best tournament. He was playing good ball. Not easy. Really not easy to beat these guys quickly. But that is part of the game at slams. And we have seen it in this 4th round just so vividly. Lerner Tien, who actually had to play qualifying too. Alejandro Davidovich-Fokina, who went down 2-0 2 matches in a row. Jack Draper, who played 3 5-setters in a row. Gael Monfils, who played some physical matches. This 4th round on the men's side was just like half the field was depleted to no end. Depleted. So this is just part of what it is at slams. Really difficult to go deep if you play long matches in week 1 and you don't watch that odometer. So that's definitely part of it for Rune. Maybe there's still work to do on the fitness for Holger, but really only he and his team knows that because, first of all, you can look at the history. You can look at 2022 and 2023 and, the cramping issues early on. I did look at the history, and you know what? I'll say this. There have been a lot of slam runs for Rune where you feel like he bows out around this time, quarterfinal, 4th round, and it's kind of a similar story. Wimbledon last year, played a 5-setter against Kontan Alice, then wasn't really competitive against Djokovic in the 4th round. Roland Garros in 2023, played a 5-setter against Francisco Cerundolo, had no legs against Ruud in the quarterfinal. Wimbledon that year as well. He played 2 5-setters in a row, Dimitrov and Davidovich-Fokina, and then he kind of no-showed in that Alcaraz quarterfinal. So this has been kind of a common storyline for Holger. Get through some tough matches week 1 and then kind of go up against a good opponent and just not really be able to even hang, which I guess has been disappointing. So I don't know. There might still be some work to do on the fitness side. And that's really all I want to say about Holger. If you're a Sinner fan, you're relieved that it's just an illness, because maybe there was a moment in time where it wasn't really clear, like, okay, is there an injury? Is there a hip thing? You're glad it's an illness, because sometimes that's the kind of thing that can pass right through the system. We don't know that that's going to be the case. This continues to be somewhat of a vulnerability. And I know that if Holger won, the storyline would have been, well, Jannik woke up sick. And I think a lot of people would have groaned and been like, here we go again. Every time Sinner loses, he's sick. And it's like, what do you want someone in my position to do, right? I'm going to watch what happened. I'm going to take the evidence, and I'm going to say what's happening. Like, the truth might hurt you in some kind of way because it doesn't fit the narrative that you want. And in that case, the narrative might be like, Sinner was outplayed at 100%. He was fine, and he just got outplayed. Like, you can want that to be the narrative, but that wouldn't have been the truth here. It would have been the same story of, Jannik had, I guess you could call it like another durability issue. And that would have potentially knocked him out of the tournament. It almost did, but it didn't. So he advances, and now I'm going to get to work on my quarterfinal preview. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.